Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of Navigating NewSpace, produced by the Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship Program. My name is Shayna Hume, and I'm the host for this segment and a 2018 alum of the program. The MAT Fellowship is a highly selective summer internship and mentorship program which helps to nurture the next generation of space leaders. Today's interview is actually all about the fellowship and the application process with which you can become a fellow. Today's guest for this conversation is Josh Ingersoll, a 2019 fellow from the program. Josh, thank you so much for making the time to join us today.
I'm super happy to be here. Most of my friends and family and professional connections know I can't stop talking about the fellowship, so it's nice to do that in a concentrated video format.
Oh, so you're the perfect person for this then. Fantastic. So before we get started into the meat of today, which, as I just said, is going over the application process and how to become a fellow, first, could you just kick us off by letting us know a little bit more about who you are, besides, of course, being someone who got into the program?
Alrighty. Well, let's see. This desk I need to compartmentalize because I'm at this desk outside of just 9 to 5. But from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's mirrored. I am a Spacecraft Systems Engineer at the Aerospace Corporation. And then afterwards, I spend most of my time either working on MAT Fellowship stuff as the Recruitment Chair for the program, or attending lectures and doing homework for graduate school. I'm currently working towards a dual MBA, Master's in Space Policy at the George Washington University in DC. So that, I think, as like a percentage of my time, makes up at least 80% between those three things.
Awesome. And when you were part of the MAT Fellowship, what was your host company and mentor?
So my mentor was John Gedmark, the CEO of Astronaut out in the Bay Area. And then my host company was Airbus OneWeb Satellites down at Cape Canaveral. 2019 fellow Jaden Zundel and I were both matched with OneWeb Satellites. So we worked and lived and traveled together down at the Cape. Got to do a whole bunch of cool stuff that summer.
Awesome. And so now you're the Recruitment Chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So what does that involve and when did that get started?
Well, so I think it's been official for 3-4 weeks now, but not a whole bunch has changed in what I've been doing for the program. It's more of just a little thing on my LinkedIn title so that when I send random connections to prospective applicants, they know like, oh, okay, this is not just some early career engineer that wants to say hi. There's actually a reason for this. But yeah, so as Recruitment Chair, I am responsible along with Eric Hinterman and Maya Nafade, my vice chairs, with making sure that the program is known to as many eligible and qualified candidates as possible, and just letting them know like, hey, there's this great fellowship program out there that can really set you up for success in your early career in the commercial space industry. And here's how you apply. Here's what you need to be eligible. Here's the type of stuff the program's looking for. Go put your stuff together, and we'll see you in 3 months. Yeah, so that's about it. So we're in full swing right now, and I'm loving it.
Fantastic. That is so cool to hear about. It is awesome that we get this opportunity to reach out to so many people, and I want to take the opportunity myself right now. If any prospective applicants are watching this right now on the live recording of it, please feel free, use the comment section, ask questions. Today is all about questions, and we'll be darting all over the entire application process. So if you have any, hot burning questions you want to get off your chest, feel free to do it tonight. If you don't manage to think of them tonight, or if you're joining us via the recording of this instead of the live, there will be an info session 1 week from today, and there will be information on that at the end of this video. So any more questions come up and you'll have another place to talk to Josh and to get them all out then.
Love questions. As many
questions. Yes, questions are great. Questions are fantastic. By the way, we already have a couple shout outs, a great SpaceX dragon in the background.
Oh yeah, so I actually have both the zero G indicators from DM1 and DM2. So I think I my fiance agreed to let me have our future kids stuffed animal collection just be all of the SpaceX crew mission 0G indicators like in a row. So if you ever need a gift idea, if you're in my life for some reason, those are always a hit.
Oh, my heart, you just broke it. That's so sweet. Love it. I also have the DM2 dragon as well, the sparkly plushy one, but I only have it because of your post where you told me about it. For those who don't know, Josh is the social media person right now on Space. So connect with him. It'll help you with your application and further on if you just want to know people's opinions.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm done embarrassing him or hazing him, as he'd call it. Let's get to the questions. So off the bat, I use the same little intro line at the beginning of each one of these. We want to nurture space leaders. That is vague and quick, and it does not get into the depth of how amazing this fellowship is. To start off, could you just give everyone a little bit of an introduction? What is the fellowship and what makes it so different compared to just getting an internship or finding your own mentor out there? What makes this an experience?
So I actually was on a call with a prospective applicant today, Carson from Georgia Tech, and the one thing that I brought up with him is that on the website, you see the four main benefits of being a Matt Fellow. You get the internship, you get the mentorship, the summit, and the networking. And when you initially look at the website and hear about the program, the first thing that might jump out at you is the internship. Like, who doesn't want to work at SpaceX or Blue Origin? But I think now being, let's see, a year and a half out from my fellowship summer, the biggest thing has been the network by far. Previous to my Matt Fellowship placement, I had two separate internships, one at General Electric Aviation and one with NASA Ames. And while during both of those summers, I met a lot of great people that I still talk with semi-regularly between roommates and other interns and my managers and such. Throughout my Matt Fellowship summer, I actually gained sort of like a NewSpace family. There's 79 Matt Fellows now, and we're, as of a few weeks ago, have our own Slack, so that we're always posting memes. I think we have a game night. We're all going to play Among Us on Sunday night, but you have people all over the country that are working at almost all of the host companies that because you have this common thread. So I think that the Matt Fellowship is an experience because of that family almost. It's kind of a weird thing to hear when you're talking about a professional fellowship, but it's definitely by far the biggest benefit.
Very cool. I mean, I would completely agree. I think most of the fellows who have come on this segment so far completely agree. The internship is great. The summer mentoring is awesome. And the summit is, very swanky in all the best ways. Yeah. It's very glamorous for a few days. But the long-lasting effects are just the network and the amazing SLS memes and everything that comes with that network besides that. Okay, so who is eligible for this amazing opportunity? Who can go to the website today and apply?
So the ground rules are you have to have at least completed 2 years of your undergraduate degree. So you have to be a third year, fourth year, fifth year, sixth year. I know how it is sometimes with these engineering undergraduate programs, or a graduate student, a master's or a PhD student. You also have to be pursuing an engineering or a science degree. So a BS, an MS, typically if it's a bachelor's or a master's of science, 9 times out of 10, I'd say you're eligible. It gets a little dicey when you're doing of arts, but in like a human systems interaction or stuff like that. But definitely ask questions about that, figure out what your specific case is. But so yeah, third, fourth year undergrad, graduate student in an engineering or science program. And then you have to be eligible to work in the US. So you either have to be a US citizen or a US permanent resident. And I don't know if you're going to ask a follow-up question to justify these, but I have some good perspective on why those things exist. For the U.S. citizen or permanent resident restriction, during the summit, we do a lot of company visits, and due to the nature of ITAR restrictions, a lot of the time you have to, even to walk in the high bay to see a satellite, you have to be eligible you have to be a U.S. citizen. And then for the major restriction or major, you have to engineering or science degree. The further you stray from that, the smaller the pool of host companies that you're eligible to be matched with gets. So while you might be on the fringe, I'd say definitely err on the side of applying no matter what. But there's definitely, it's kind of hard to, there's not a lot of policy opportunities at SpaceX right now compared to engineering. Yada, yada, yada. It's just a smaller piece of the pie. And then the 30-year plus requirement, something that the Matt Fellowship in particular is really looking for is students that sort of see where they want to be in 5, 6, 7 years, what sort of impact they want to have on the industry, where they see the industry itself going, and how they can line up their experience with those goals. So it's really hard if you're fresh off the boat taken Calc 1 and Intro to Aerospace to have that sort of knowledge and experience. So that's a lot to unpack. But if you have any questions about your individual case for eligibility, reach out and ask. Definitely, there's some everybody has a different situation. Mm-hmm. And then B, if you're right on the fringe, I'd say go ahead and apply.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's so many edge cases, and it's so worth looking into the application if you don't fall dead center of this bell curve.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, after last week's live interview, I got asked a question via Instagram DM. It was so exciting. I'm becoming all social media-ish now. One of these prospective applicants wanted to ask if non-traditional students are eligible. So someone who plans to be enrolled in grad school next year, but they already did their undergrad and grad degrees and they're older and changing industries. Is this the target audience at all? If they're going to be enrolled, are they allowed?
So you have to be, the easiest litmus test for those type of cases is are you enrolled right now, fall semester 2020? Because at the time of application, you have to be either a third year, fourth year, or a graduate student in an engineering or science program. So I don't think that's really the way the target audience for the fellowship. We have had non-traditional students as fellows. There's people with military backgrounds that are 5, 6, 7 years older than the rest of their fellow class. But as long as you tick those 3 boxes that are spelled out pretty plainly on the website, you're good to go.
Awesome. So if I misrepresented that situation for whatever reason, as I'm spelling it out, whatever the case may be, if you're on your way back to grad school, if you're doing a second BS, whatever the case might be, just go ask, see if your case applies. Yep. Because if you think you're a good fit for this fellowship, then you should see if you're eligible. Because if your heart tells you you're in the right place, it's worth checking out. Yeah, and definitely, I don't think it's a tool for the pivot. I think it's more of kind of like a rail gun. So you're already going, this is going to get way too nerdy, but for magnetic force to have an effect on an object, it already has to have an initial velocity. That's some E&M crap, but you have to already be moving in a certain trajectory. So you have to be in the program already for you to get shot out of the cannon that is the Matthew Isakowitz Fellowship Program. So it's not a good pivot. It's more of an accelerant. Got it. So people who already know that they're maybe done with the pivot, that would be a great position for them. If they're done with the pivot and they're going on forward, that's the move. And the Matt leadership team has already left a comment on our Facebook Live. If you're a non-traditional student, just email apply@mattfellowship.org and ask, because you are the perfect fringe case for the leadership to help you figure it out. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, and I see that there's some questions from a prospective applicant already, but some of them are going to get covered in just a moment, so I'll return to that to see if we don't get them. Sounds good. Cool. So how should someone know if they're a good fit for this program? We keep saying, if you know that you belong in this program, if you know that you're a good match, what is a good match for all of this?
What is a good match? So I think we talked about this a little bit before the recording started, but this is all my personal opinion. And one thing that has to be said for both this interview and the info session next week is that the selection and recruitment teams are currently, there's insulation between those two teams. So we're going based off of, the recruitment team is going based off of the fellows that have already been selected, and they're not the ones sitting down making these decisions. But the conversation we had before the recording was, in my personal opinion, I see that there's three main pillars that make a great Matthew Fellowship applicant. The first one is academic excellence. So you'll notice on the application there is no GPA requirement. There is no hard cutoff. It's not like a lot of companies where, like, if you don't have a 3.0 or above, don't even bother. Or if you don't have a 3.5, like, you're not going to get through the first pass. There is no GPA requirement for the program, but there is also, it is taken into account. So the program is looking for students that excel both in and out of the classroom on their campuses. So like I said earlier in the talk, if you're a third-year student that shows up to class, doesn't talk to the professor, goes to class, goes home, and does your homework, and that's about it, I would definitely recommend you work on getting more involved in school. So you have rocket clubs, there's SEDS, the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. There's a bunch of different groups and organizations you can join on campus to sort of proliferate your experience academically. So academic excellence, number one. Number two is technical experience. So this sort of has a little bit of overlap with the previous pillar. SEDS.org. I think we need to get a record. How many times can we bring up John Conifay in a row on these interviews? Number two is technical experience. So the fellowship is looking for applicants that have had, I wouldn't say maybe not hardware particular work. When I applied, I had only a few weeks of hardware experience, but looking for people that have had some sort of technical experience through either like a nanosatellite lab on campus or through a previous internship, so that they have some sort of perspective outside of just going to do problem sets 1 through 4 or doing a lab report or something like that. Like you see what type of work is done outside of the classroom. So whether that be research or an internship. So we've got academic excellence, technical experience, and I think the third one is the most nebulous, but also probably the most important. And that is passion for spaceflight, passion for the industry moving forward. This program was created in the memory of someone who had a profound amount of passion for pushing this industry forward, for what the next big thing is, what we can do as an industry to develop the next big idea, to re-land rocket boosters, to sell lunar regolith to NASA for a profit. Actually, I don't know if it'd be a profit, but you'd have to crunch the numbers on that. But the program was founded in memory of someone who had this profound passion. So they're looking for applicants that share that. The whole point of the program is to connect people that are very similar to Matthew and provide them with the resources that they need to make an impact in the industry. So I think those, okay. Whew. If Sophie or Jenny are watching, I apologize. Now I'm the one getting a little choked up, but yeah, so passion for spaceflight, academic excellence, and technical experience are the main three things in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna grab a sip of water and step off my soapbox for a second.
It's not an interview if one of us doesn't get choked up about how much we love the fellowship. So on the topic of getting, all teary-eyed over our experiences, let's sneak in a quick audience question. What's your personal favorite memory from your time as a fellow so far?
Okay, I might have to change it. Let's see. If we hit 275 people at the info section next week, I will make this picture my profile picture on LinkedIn for a month. But there's a photo of my reaction during the summit to realizing that the next stop on our itinerary was not to go to our next company visit, but to actually make a detour to SpaceX's headquarters at One Rocket Road, Hawthorne, California, to sit down with Elon Musk and pick his brain for 30, 40 minutes. It was kind of like an out of body experience. I think the rest of the class of 2019 could attest to that. But there's a really, really cool photo of me just like sort of losing my composure a little bit. But that was the talk was very insightful. But I think the surprise was definitely my favorite individual moment. That I'll have to hunt down that photo at some point. It's a custom emoji in the Matt Fellowship.
I have it actually. I have it. I've had it uploaded to the interview servers a couple weeks ago when we were talking about it. Sorry, one moment. I'm going through the unfortunate moment when my computer is almost out of battery and I didn't realize, so I'll do that as we talk. But yes, I have this photo, and I don't mean to peer pressure you, but it's glorious.
Let's do it.
If you're okay. We're going to end today's interview with this amazing photo of Josh, and I hope it inspires you to sign up for the webinar, because all he wants is 200 people. How many people do we have right now?
Well, I said 260. I don't know. The recording is 260, 275. We have 190.
Keep upping the number.
Yeah. No.
Just keep raising the number so you don't have to do it.
I'll have to explain to Steve why that's my profile picture on LinkedIn.
So we should do it at the end of today, so you know how good it is. And if enough of you sign up from the live and the recording, this photo will be on his LinkedIn for a month. Imagine the glory. We're a team. We're doing this together now.
Oh, no.
All right. We'll leave that off for now, though, because we have a whole bunch of other questions to get through. It's already been 20 minutes. So let's move on to the application process. Can you give us a rundown of that?
So there's a really cool graphic that's going to be at the info session next week, but it's basically the only date that the applicants know right now is it closes at Friday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, November 13th. So Friday, at midnight. Don't wait until the last minute, although I know 90% of you are going to wait until the last minute at least. Please don't. It's really, I as a TA, I can see the graph for assignments getting turned in as the due date approaches, but it's really nice to just get it away. Don't stress about it. You have like almost 2 months, actually just under 2 months. Yes. But yeah, so that November 13th is when the application period closes. And then shortly, I don't want to say anything that'll put me on the hook with Steve and Sarisha, but Thanksgiving-ish, early December-ish is usually when video interviews are. So there's the most highly qualified candidates will be invited to do a 30-ish minute video interview with the selection team, and that interview is the first opportunity for the team to get to know you outside of your essays. It's a pretty casual conversation. I remember being really psyched out about it. I don't know if your experience was different, but I thought I was about to go through a really grueling like technical interview, but I got asked what my favorite sci-fi movie was, and if I was stuck on an island with one book, what would it be and why? It's a get to know you sort of interview. And then if you are selected past that interview, you're put into like a pool of finalists that are given to the host companies, and each of the host companies selects 2 or 3 finalists out of that pool, and you get a really fun call from the selection team right around Christmas saying, hey, you've matched with SpaceX or OneWeb or Rocket Lab. And then the final step, actually, it's inverted compared to most internship programs, is a technical interview with the hiring manager or HR department at the host company. So the finalists that the company selected are all interviewed by that company, and they let the Matthew Isakowitz selection team know which one they ended up going with, and then is like all of the connectors line up, and then you get another really fun call saying like, hey, you're officially in, you're a MFO, yada, yada, yada. And then you get to freak out a little bit. I think I was at the gym when I was told, and I jumped up and down and got a few weird looks, but definitely worth it.
Yeah, I remember mine too. I was in a museum at the time. I was visiting DC, was in a museum, got a call from a number I didn't recognize, and answered the phone. And I was like, hi, I'm in a museum right now. Is this important? And it was Steve on the phone. Killed me a little bit, killed me. I always managed to embarrass myself just a little bit in front of Steve through some silliness.
So that's a rough-ish timeline. I think the moral of the story is if you have questions, ask.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of time when you might have an internship outside of the fellowship that you need to like let them know by. I know companies are moving them early and earlier, the interview and application windows for their internships. So like, I know there's been a few fellows that are like, hey, I have to let this person know by such and such a date if I'm in like taking their internship, and then most of the time they're able to work something out or say like, hey, you're off by like the distance and time is too much, so they you have to make your decision outside of the consideration from the fellowship. But yeah, if you have a question, ask. Like,
definitely, and so many unique situations. In the first year of the program, I know one of my friends had already accepted an internship, but it turned out to be with one of the host companies, so they just made it work. He actually got assigned to a different company than the one he already accepted the internship at, and so they just shuffled everything around and made it work because, you know, once they want you, they want you.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
they make it happen.
Yeah, there's been times when the nature of the companies in our industry not being newer companies, sometimes if they don't get a contract or something adverse happens, like a global pandemic, not that would ever happen, they sometimes are not able to take interns. So the fellowship takes care of you. I don't know how they do it and how many emails and phone calls and spreadsheets it must take, but it ends up working out.
For sure. So a question early on that Kyle submitted in the chat was, how important are the different elements of the application? Let's stick to just the beginning right now. So in the very beginning of the application, I'll share my screen to make this work. One moment. All right, first time I've done this. Oh no, it's awful. All right, Josh, how does that look to you now?
Good. I mean, I know this, I'm pretty sure I know the application like the inside of my, or back
I'm
of my
sure you do. I'm just giving it out to everyone else who might not have spent so much time on it. So the different parts of this initial application, which are the most important, where you should spend the most time. Can you give us an idea of that?
So I think in order of descending importance, the most important thing right off the bat is eligibility. It doesn't matter if you write amazing essays or you have the best letters of recommendation ever. If you're a freshman, like that's so definitely before you even think about putting effort into this, make sure that you are eligible. And at the end of the day, if you're on one of those fringe cases, ask. And then after that, like I said, the big asterisks up here is that the recruitment team and the selection team are insulated from each other. That's the wording I was looking for. I personally think that the essays are hands down, I think, probably an order of magnitude more important than the rest of the application, because they are the only opportunity for the selection team to get to know you as a person outside of your resume. So that's one of the main differences between this application and an internship application is you have that, I think it's 800 word, 1,500 words?
Yes,
1,500 words.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, cool mental math. 1,500 words. You have 1,500 words to tell the selection committee who you are as a person, outside of this is where I went to school, this is my GPA, these are the clubs and stuff that I do. So it's the essays are very important. I would highly recommend that you do multiple drafts. Like, make sure that you're using your words effectively, and highlight how you fit into those three pillars that I mentioned earlier. And then after that, I would make sure that whatever you can't highlight in your essay, or if there's anything in your essays that you think is important, to make sure that you select your recommenders to be able to basically fill in that side of you as a person. So one thing that I recommend for a lot of people that are applying is to have some diversity in their recommenders. So you have an academic and a professional recommender. I don't know if you ended up going that route, but I know I personally did. I had a manager from a previous internship and a professor I was doing research under write my 2 letters of rec. Trying to think anything else. Eligibility essays, letter of rec, and then at this point, if you're applying for a fellowship like this and you're eligible, you should be at a point in your life where your resume is put together. So I don't think you should stress out a ton about it, but just make sure that your resume is presentable.
Okay, cool. Good information to have.
Yeah.
When I was scrolling through that, I was reminded again of a question that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
They have a box that says, if you are applying again, what do you want to stress that is different on your application? What is your take on that box? And if people have gotten rejected in the past, do they still have a fighting chance a second time around?
I think that I'm going to call out Cal briefly, because Cal Phillips, he was a 2020 fellow who was one of my students when I was a TA at Georgia Tech. He's at Purdue doing grad school right now, but he applied during the first fellow class, so in 2018 or fall of 2017. But he applied then and wasn't accepted. But I personally reached out to him about this time last year, and I was like, hey, this program's really cool, and I personally saw your work in Capstone. You should apply. And I didn't know he had already applied. And he was like, yeah, I applied before, and I didn't get in, and it's a decent amount of work writing all the essays, but I don't know. You make sure that you emphasize growth. So definitely apply again. I actually was on a call with somebody earlier today that is a 3rd-year undergrad. I was like, hey, give it your best crack this year. But if all else fails, you have a whole year to try to improve your portfolio almost, and then give it another crack next year. I think it's only a year or 2 in between application periods when you decide to apply, but the network lasts way longer than that. So I definitely think it's still worth it to apply a second or third time if you maybe weren't accepted your first or second time through.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Jenny or Sophie is in the chat doing a wonderful job answering some of the questions that I had queued up. So we get to skip right over those. For those who might not be on the Facebook Live and who might be joining from another venue, someone asked whether internships and the fellowship will be in person next year. The answer is we don't know. We really hope so. It would be great if they were. But the team will do everything it can to make it happen. And they had a very successful summer this year, running programs online, having networking activities. Honestly, I feel a little bit jealous of the 2020 class. Without managing to leave their offices, they got a really good experience. Yeah,
there was a few of the events that I was privy to before they happened. I knew who they were speaking to, and there was a couple times I was like, maybe if I just join the Zoom and turn my camera off and set my name to reconnecting, they won't notice me. But no, they had a really cool virtual summit speaker series this summer. They spoke to CEOs, big players in the industry. Gwen Shotwell, president of SpaceX, and my personal favorite person, Emily Calandrelli, the space gal on TikTok, Twitter, and almost everything else. Got to speak about science communication and other ways you can use your technical background in the industry. Love her so much. But yeah, they had a really cool experience.
Awesome. So for people who are working on their applications, are they allowed to talk to alum? And if they don't know any alum and they, come from a school that might be underrepresented and they don't have a lot of mentors who might come from the fellowship, how are they supposed to meet us?
So if you go on the Matt Fellowship page and you go to, or on the website and you go to the Fellows tab, all of the fellows from not this current class, and I think that the admin team is going to switch this over soon for the 2020 class, but all of those pictures link directly to fellows' LinkedIn profiles. So I know there's people that are more active or less active on social media, but moral of the evening, reach out, ask. There's a lot of schools that have not had a Matt Fellow yet, that I think that it's not because they're not qualified. It's just a word of mouth. Like, you feel comfortable asking somebody, like, hey, what was your experience? What sort of headspace should I be in for this application? What wording should I use? What's appropriate? What should I highlight? And because of that, those organic connections, you tend to get a lot of people from CU Boulder and Stanford and MIT and Georgia Tech. But if you're at an underrepresented school, a lot of the Matt Fellow alumni just love helping out prospective applicants and talking about the program. They've had such a positive experience. They want everybody that is eligible and qualified to apply. So I would say, if you don't know anybody, if you feel like you're doing this alone, just reach out. Ping me on Twitter, ask questions on LinkedIn. A lot of the fellows will bend over backwards to help you.
Absolutely. I'm at CU Boulder right now, so now I'm at one of the feeder schools. But when I applied, I was at University of Miami, the one in Miami, not at Ohio, which is distinctly not a feeder school. I only found out about the program. I only found out about the program because it was a footnote at the bottom of a long email from AIAA, I think, because I was involved in AIAA, and they just had a link saying this cool new program is starting. And I just think it is so important, tell people that this program is happening. And if you find out that it's happening, just reach out to us. If people like Josh or I get inundated after this, which would be beyond exciting, if so many of you are mentoring, we will pass you on to another fellow and someone will make it happen for you. So can't stress that moral strongly enough.
Yeah, I think when I was applying, I LinkedIn stalked all 25 of the 2018 fellows and was like, hey, my name's Josh, I'm applying. Do you have any tips for me? And I think that there's 79 of us now. You'll find somebody that has a pretty similar background to you that you can bounce ideas off of. And if people are super busy or not available, you can always send an email to recruitment at matthewfellowship.org. That goes directly to the recruitment team, which is another group of alumni. But
So we are approaching the 40-minute mark, and there have been some amazing people who have just been online and watching us this whole time. Obviously, there are many more questions to ask, and many of them will be asked next week at the info session. But last of all, just what tips do you have for someone getting started on this application? What advice would you throw them?
Okay, gonna put my asterisk up again. Just gonna keep
We
doing
are
that.
not the selection team.
Yes,
we are offering our best.
Yes. I personally advise people to, once again, initial velocity railgun. It's an accelerant, not a pivot. You have to basically frame your application saying, I'm at point A. Here's all of my background. This is where I am currently, point A. I have this experience. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I've done, internships, research, clubs, things like that. And then this is point B. This is where I see myself in 5, 6, 7 years, this is where I see the industry in 5, 6, 7 years. You've given this some thought, that you understand enough about the commercial space industry to see what the trends are and where things are going, why these host companies exist, why their business cases make sense. So this is point B. This is where I'd like to be, given enough resources and time and education and connections. And the Matt Fellowship would allow me to get from point A to point B because of blank, 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 blank. And I think that's personally a really good way of looking at things, because it shows not only like you understand where you are now, so you can quantify why you're qualified currently. And you also understand where you want to be. You understand you've given some thought to where you would like to be in industry specifically, and the industry as a whole, enough to put together some sort of goal, and how the benefits of the program can get you from point A to point B. So that's personally how I look at things, but once again, the big old asterisk. But yeah.
Very cool. So I know the social media team, as of this evening, is going to start promoting tips from past alumni. So keep in touch with our social media. Hopefully a lot more tips will be out there, and we will all try to make you feel as confident as you can going into this process. Awesome. So to wrap up, if someone has a question and they can't wait till next Wednesday, where should they reach out if they want to talk about something that we didn't mention tonight? Where should they go?
You can send an email to either recruitment@matthewfellowship.org or apply@matthewfellowship.org. I'd say apply is much more for like the technical eligibility stuff, and recruitment is much more of, I have like questions about like my case, like qualifications, yada, yada. You can reach out to fellows on LinkedIn or Twitter or any other social media if you really want to know what I'm up to or what I think about the most recent Space News article. You can find me on Twitter at Space Policy Geek, and then all of the Matthew Fellowship social media. Like you said, we post stuff pretty often. I know the newly formed social media team is going to be doing Fellow Friday highlights, application tips. There's a long road between here and November 13th. So there's ample resources you can utilize.
Fantastic. And so tomorrow on the Casual Space podcast with Beth Mund, Josh, some members of the MIFP Fellowship team, and some of the other fellows will be appearing. So just look up the Casual Space live podcast on Facebook. You can learn more about it there. And then what day and time next week should they come around to your info session?
It's 8 o'clock, right? Yes.
What time zone are we talking?
Yeah, no, it's 8 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday.
I might be wrong. Please confirm this. My old banner had 7 p.m. Eastern. We will have to look that up.
No, it's 7. It's 7. I'm sorry.
7.
Oh boy. Tomorrow's is at 8 as well. Okay. Next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be, I think I technically have it locked out for like an hour-ish. It'll be, we're going to be going through the application procedure, and then hopefully there'll be a decent amount of questions for the recruitment team and the alumni panelists. So come hang out a week from 2 hours ago,
Nice.
And come say hi again.
Yeah, and I just put the Zoom link so that you can register in the chat on our Facebook Live. So please go do that. We'll certainly hang around, check out the comments and see if there's anything we didn't answer. Josh, there's actually someone who has a question about government and policy side of space that wanted to chat with you. So we'll go hang around the social media, see if we can answer more of your questions. But in the meanwhile, thank you so much for answering so many tonight. Thank you so much for joining.
Ooh. Thank you.
We did it. Another one down. Awesome. So I'll take both of us off, and I will leave you all with a picture of Josh to ponder on why you should register for this webinar.
Okay.
Good night, everyone. See you next week. See you next week for episode 9.